Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. How you doing, family? Happy Wednesday. This is your brother, Preacher Moss, the host of the SOS, the Shout Out Show, and working the backside of the game for us. It's Sister Satana Whitfield, our executive producer. Listen, I hope everybody's having a good day. I hope you're having a peaceful day. I mean, even more so, I hope you're having a safe day. Let's get to our topic today. It is the United States of violence. People say, Preach, why are you doing the United States of violence? I feel like the people are having amnesia about the core understanding of power structure, attaining power, and keeping power in the United States. That there is a yin and yang, that for somebody to be strong, then other people have to be kept weak. They're not weak, they have to be kept weak. For somebody to be right, other people have to look to be wrong, or their opinions have to be silenced. This has been a hell of a week. We've had assassination attempts. We're still talking about Haitians eating people's dogs, the cats, dogs, and now geese. We're talking about a president who is openly advocating for violence and a vice presidential candidate on the GOP side who clearly says that I will create stories to our advantage. I will lie in the interest of us getting elected. On top of that, you have a Fed cut, interest rate cut of a half point, and on top of that, for one of the first times in a long time, the union has refused to endorse a candidate for the presidential. It's just to say the country's screwed up. I can't say it any better. The country is screwed up. I'm going to give you guys a primer about violence. And when I come back from the break, I'm going to take it from a spot you really never really thought about. You never really thought about. I've thought about it because I have had people around me who have been generous enough to open up my mind and expand my horizon in the context of other people, other struggles, our struggles. Here in the United States, we have a grand case of amnesia. And amnesia gets worse and worse as we move closer and closer to the election time. Amnesia gets worse and worse as we talk about Palestine, as we talk about jobs, as we talk about equality, as we talk about women's rights. It gets worse and worse and worse. My plea to you as the viewer and to the rest of America, and I can't even put the politicians in this category because they are the worst and at the same time the best at this amnesia, is that there's been a total abdication of logic. The framework for logic in the United States has been damaged for quite a number of years, and at this point in time, we have felt, particularly African Americans, Latino, people of color, we have felt this thing rising to the top because we're always the people who have to yell, that's wrong, and it's always treated like, we're the people that cry wolf, like the boy that cried wolf, then finally the wolf come. No, we see the wolf every damn time. We're not lying, we're not hallucinating. This is it. We live in the United States of violence, and it will not change. So I'm going to talk about it. Parts of what I'm going to say is probably going to sound out there, probably going to sound funny and ridiculous. But the more and more you look at it, the more funny and ridiculous it looks. Just like it's like following something from your religious text that says, don't do this. You say, don't steal, right? Don't steal. Just take that one. Don't steal from your neighbor. It's a very basic tenet. It has to do with property rights. It has to do with respecting somebody's effort and energy to attain something, whether it's property, whether it's respect, whether it's wealth. It's about that. Do not steal. It says nothing that says do not go out and seek wealth, right? Do not go out and seek wealth. What it says is do not steal. Why? Because this premise of stealing speaks to the fact that there are going to be people who are going to cheat the process every time they can. They will lie. They will cheat. They will put you on Front Street in the context that you look crazy, but you don't look crazy. There are things now that Brother Malcolm, peace and blessings be upon us, may Allah be pleased with it, that Brother Malcolm said back in the 50s that are relevant. No, even more relevant now than they were now. I'm talking about twice as relevant. We're talking about the United States of violence. Just look at the fact that we export violence, but we want you to import passivity. We want you to feel like, I can do whatever I want to you. I can violate you, But the moment you do it to me, the moment you even think about doing it to me, I have a right, I have a sovereign right to crush you out. Look here, people. I'm afraid to answer my damn phone because pages are blowing up all over Lebanon. You know what I'm saying? First of all, I'm like, who has a pager? Evidently, Hezbollah has a pager. They're blowing up all of, and you say, why is this happening? They're talking about the mastery of Israel and doing all this stuff and the intricacy. No. Talk about the innocent people that you killed. And that's the society that we live in. I'm going to take a break. We're going to come right back. We're going to start our show. This is Preacher Mars talking about the United States of violence. We'll be right back. All right. Preacher Boston back. Before we get started, apologize. There's a whistling in the house. I haven't been able to figure it out yet. So forgive me. We'll figure it out at some point in time. Also, I want to give a shout out to, of course, a shout out to our family, our soldiers. I want to make sure we recognize all of them. Sister Ree, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace and blessings to you and your family. Of course, Brother Salahuddin and his queen, Sister Sonia Dalton Salahuddin. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Our main man, Altar Rashid, better known as Mr. 6 o'clock, straight up, straight down. A Canadian envoy to the show, one of our do-or-dies, day ones. How you doing, brother? Appreciate you tuning into the show. And, of course, we got Sister Satana, executive producer. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. All right, before I jump into this, I want to make I just want to make an acknowledgement. From the world of music and entertainment, we lost Tito Jackson from the Jackson 5. Now, everybody knows we used to make jokes about Tito, and Eddie Murphy made jokes about Tito. The story is, it's pretty consistent, that there would be no Jackson 5 without Tito. The story goes that Tito was playing around with Joe Jackson's guitar. He would play around with it. He broke a guitar string, and of course, the threat, because Joe was a hammer, he told him, if you don't want to get whooped, you better learn how to play every song on the radio. And of course, Tito was like, I'm not trying to deal with this crazy man. He learned every song. And being proud of that, Joe Jackson said, this kid is pretty good on guitar. Let's make a band. And that was the Jackson 5. So peace and blessings to Tito and his three sons, the 3 T's, and the Jackson family. Let's just throw that out, man. You know, it's just the time when I was saying, you know, he died when he was 70, which seems young, but you got to realize they've been in the music business over 50-some years. So talk about longevity. Mr. Noise, what's going on? Well, like Masalano Patua Barakatu, beloved, how you doing? Are you in town? I'm in town, so let me know. Give me a holler after the show, inshallah. We're due from some halal food. Okay. Let me get to this topic of violence, the United States of violence. And you can flip it around and go to, you know, the violent states of America. You can do that too. Here's my point. And this is something I've talked with people about. You know, and actually this weekend I was did a fundraiser for Sahara programs in Phoenix, Arizona. And what they are is they're a domestic abuse shelter, developing programs for women who are abused, families who are going through domestic violence. They're trying to do job training. It was a really interesting thing. I would shout out to Minister Roger Hodge. Continue to give to SaharaPrograms.org. I'm sitting in this thing. This is how the topic came up. As a young child, I would be with my mother, be with my grandmother, be with my family, and we would be very jovial, happy thing. And then a police siren would go by. a police siren would go by, and we would stop talking until the siren went past, making sure, here we go, making sure that the police wasn't going to come get one of us. And it's a weird feeling. And I had this feeling unresolved for so many years till I got to elementary school. In elementary school, you had to get coaching because it was during the busing years, and you had to be taught about how you behaved around these white teachers, how you behave around these white kids. One of the things or the dangers of me going to school, probably like a lot of black children, was it's not that you didn't feel like you were as good as the other kids. Hell, you felt like you were better than them. That there was something that gave you effervescence, that allowed you to speak to different things. Your culture gave you more than what they could give you in history books. But there was one thing that I remember as a child, and I saw it as a young kid, and it just seared a memory in my it seared a memory in my head, in my recall. I was at my uncle's house, and they had all these books. And I opened this book one time, just browsing, and it was a picture of a black man who had been hung and burned. He was hung and burned. And what made an impression on me was all around him, the white people around him, they were not hung. They were not burned. They weren't singed. What in my young mind meant that this man was burned and fricasseed, and they watched. That this was some type of blood sport that happened. Let me tell you something, brothers and sisters. The foundation of America in and of itself has been built on violence. Violence that was exported from Europe. These are not civilized people. They do not come as peacekeepers. Everywhere they go, it's just like the character from what was that? What was that movie with Iron Man and all of? You remember that movie Iron Man? And they had all the Captain America and all those the Avengers. They were trying to fight this one guy, and he was just dead set on destroying everything he went to, and the Avengers had to fight him. It took 2 movies to win. But my point is this feeling of aggression, and it's easy to be aggressive against people that you see as not aggressive, that you see will somehow have to figure out over a period of time that this is who you really are. These are no mulligans in terms of burning down huts with the Native Americans, enslaving black people, killing people down in Mexico. These are not mistakes. This is pathology. And sometimes this is pathology wrapped in religious treaties. And people begin to understand that violence is a way of life. Walaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, JT. Thank you for joining us, little brother. Appreciate you. But America, in and of itself, has become extremely violent. And it's been this way for a long time. I'm going to give you the case of violence in America that we don't talk about enough. And that is, open your ears, brothers and sisters, that is the violence against women. The overall nature, instruction, systemic patterns, and positioning to keep our women violated is something, it's abhorrent. Our women aren't protected. And you say, why aren't they protected? You go to other countries, they don't have the rapes that we have. They don't have the violence against women that we have. You know what? I heard a candidate say that, this is turning into a third world country. We're not a third world country because of the people. We're a third world country because of the leadership. And the leadership leads us down these cubby holes. Over and over and over again is the violence of women. And you have to say this. If we can't protect our women, then you can't protect anything. Right? You can't protect the women. You can't protect. You want to understand how your society is going. Look at the women. Our women are unprotected. In the latest blow, or I would guess outrage for violence against women as a part of the United States violence, is we now begin to see the overall effect of Roe versus Wade. Now, you can be wherever you are on the fence with Roe versus Wade, but now we have 2 cases down in Georgia. Candy Mills, I believe, and Amber, I can't remember her last name, I think it begins with a T. These are 2 women who were not able to get healthcare services that require abortions. All right? It's not what they tell you. It's not the murder. These are women who have lost their children. And when you lose your children, you have to go through a process of moving waste out of your body. I don't want to sound gross, but you have to move waste out of your bodies, and requires that process. It needs to happen. But these women, with this new Georgia ban on abortions, were not able to do that. And they tried to self-medicate. They tried to treat themselves. And, both of them, I guess, went into sepsis, and they died. Let me tell all of you something. Going back last year when I was on tour in the UK in October, your boy got an infection and it turned into sepsis. Let me tell you something. Thank God for the young Muslim doctor who told me he was not going to let me go back to my hotel. Because if I gone back to my hotel, I guarantee you, and he guaranteed me, I probably would not be doing any more touring. I probably wouldn't do any more shout out shows. I'd probably be dead. This is me with an infection. These are women who have carried children in their body. And nobody's talking about them. Kamala Harris made a reference to them. But this is happening all over. That's violence against women. Just the idea that you would withhold a vote from women is violence against women. Withholding the vote for black folk. See, the thing about black folk is, when it comes to violence in America, you don't have to tell us about it. We've seen it on the physical front. We've seen it on the emotional front, the spiritual front, the financial front, the legal front. There's no more ways you can violate black people. If you kill us, it's not new. Okay? If you kill our children, it's not new. This is what has emerged in terms of negative serendipity in the process of America being America. We had another assassination attempt. And you know what I'm saying? Another one. Okay. If you really want to have some fun, and I don't advocate anyone being shot, go to Columbo. Watch an episode of Columbo, and it's a candidate for murder. Jackie Mason plays a guy running for Senate. Guess what he has? All these attempts on his life. Guess what happens? All attempts on his life are him staging attempts on his life. Okay. So you see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying, Satana? I'm like, this stuff is not new. I know the United States, when we lose it, we're going to put it on somebody else. Israel, when they lose it, they're going to put it on somebody else. I'm not a fool, and I'm going to tell you, I know you guys are not a fool either. But come on. Come on. Right? And let me tell you guys about these phones. We talked about social media so many years ago. I read a book a couple years ago. It's called Startup Nation. And this is no knock on Israel. It is what it is. It's called Startup Nation. Israel is the leading country in the world for startups. And it's necessitated by the fact they have to continually develop defense systems because they don't have a standing army. So the way you do it is you do it to technology. So you keep calling on your phone. You're a fool to think that if you made a video on your phone, you send a text to all these apps, that people don't have your information. That you took a selfie and sent it, that it's not somewhere in the atmosphere. Just recently, I was reading about J.D. Vance, vice presidential candidate running with Donald Trump. He asked one of his professors to delete a paper he put out when he was in law school, to delete a paper he put out. It's really talking about the GOP the way I'm talking about the GOP, that they don't care about the immigrants, that they don't care about fairness and equity. Of course, he's flip-flop on his position. But here's the thing. And I mean this, and I'm trying to say this in the best. Wu-Tang had a great song called Guard Your Neck. And this is why I love Guard Your Neck. Because Guard Your Neck had no pretense about who was listening and who was not listening. It said, we are in a jungle. We are in a constant state of flux. We are at war with one another, even when things are good. probably even more so when things are good. And what we have not developed is this philosophy of guard your neck. And here's the problem. See, African Americans in particular have been raised to guard your neck. Your mama told you don't go over that neighborhood. Your father said you better be back here by sundown. They weren't trying to curb your creativity. They weren't trying to limit your emancipation. They trying to save your damn life. All right? And now you have a scenario whereby the rule of the day is going to be violent. Sadly, when I bring it up, I was in this house January the 5th, 2021. You can look back and Satana, maybe we'll play it again. You can look back on the show that we did, and the show said, smells like a coup to me. Now, why would I say that? Why would I say that? Is it because I'm a Debbie Downer, I'm a negative? No. I'm black in America. You know when it's going to go bad. That's a sign of being black in America. You know it's going to go left. And we have to sit here now, almost like voyeurs watching the country go left. You know, and that could speak to the fact that we haven't produced effective leadership over the last 20 years. That's real talk. But my thought, hey, Assalamu alaikum, Mama Son, what's going on now? She got her computer back, everybody. Shout out to Rick for fixing her computer. But my point in the matter is we've been sitting watching this country go left for years. And now it's sort of like, I don't know if you ever saw the movie Jerry Maguire. Satan, you ever see Jerry Maguire? Did you ever see the movie? You didn't? If you ever watched Jerry Maguire, there's an old white man when everything, he sits in the back and he's like this old sage. African Americans, Latinos, we become the old sage. Anybody who's had a long-term relationship with supremacy, with violence that's associated with white supremacy and maintaining power in the United States, we now sit back because this thing is so far. And it's almost like we're detached because we're watching our kids be helpless. We're watching our leadership be ineffective a lot of time. And we're watching, and I have to say this, we're watching our children make mistakes, believing that somehow this violence is warranted because it's in the music, it's on TV. I'm so tired of seeing throwback shows with people with afros and da-da-da-da. Man, every time I get on Instagram, I get a clip from Godfather Harlem. I'm like, Bobby Johnson was not that exciting a guy, okay? But my point is, I'm watching it and I know to a young mind that's not trained, they began to think that this violence is okay. They begin to think that this is normal. We've normalized this thing. I watched a state senator talk to a woman who represented Arab and anti-Arab racism. Ask that woman this: are you a part of Hamas? Are you a part of Hezbollah? He tells her in a Senate hearing, you should stick your head in a bag. When does that happen? It doesn't happen anywhere else except in our spaces. Now, let me be very clear. Let me be exceptionally clear. Violence has an enemy. So let me say this, be exceptionally clear. Violence has an enemy. And that enemy is called creativity and faith. And as long as you know that creativity and faith are out there, violence will always be a go-to for the people that don't have it. Over and over and over again, we find ourselves, almost like I was as a kid. As an adult, I keep going through that picture in my mind of that black man who's hung and burned and white people sitting around like it's a Sunday picnic taking pictures. That was the theater of entertainment of that time. It's hard for me to believe that somehow, some way, that feeling has been totally abandoned. And when I watch MAGA, they remind me of the people that sat around and watched that man get burned. They remind me of the people that sat around and made sure that man hung. What did he do? Because you can't talk to him. You can't ask him questions. You can't ask him his side of the story. And that is, brothers and sisters, the name of the game when it comes to us. that nobody asks us outside of the story. What does that mean, preacher? It means that they're not listening, or they're afraid to listen, or here's the other thing. We have to create a powerful new narrative that is not inclusive of these people and their faults and their violent ways. That we have to power up ourselves, knowing, understandably, and being very clear that these people can't help you. These people have never helped you. They have no good in themselves. We can't. I miss the days when somebody would look at it and go, "He ain't no good. He ain't no damn good." I miss the NOI days. People say they were black racists. No. In the 50s and 60s, they were living in reality. And you have to understand, yes, there are good people who are not violent. Yes, but it's not enough. And over again, we keep trying to create these spaces for these people to grow. Choke those spaces out. I don't want these people in there. I don't want to see whether you're going to change. I don't want to see the ending. I see the beginning. The United States of violence takes into account, brothers and sisters, that somehow, some way, violence buys them time to do what they're going to do. We've talked about zero-sum relationships. That's what violence is. Violence precludes the fact that, you know what? There's absolutely no space and no air for logic to enter in here. For me to be right, you must be wrong. For me to live, you must be dead. For me to be rich, you must be poor. With no gray area, any kind of lack of moderation, any kind of reason, we're going over and over again. And this has become, again, the United States of violence. We're literally guaranteed violence, darn near, if one candidate, I won't say his name, Donald Trump, is not allowed his way to be president. Hear what I'm saying? He is not allowed his way to be president. I didn't say voted. I didn't say elected. He's not allowed his way, which takes it out of this whole space of what is the democratic process? What is the election process? Why do we need an electoral college? Right? It's because you have to understand that this is, again, the United States of violence. And all of these levels are set up. Let me give a shout out to anybody we got an Instagram land. Dang on, I'm sorry. Sound like just say Naj. Adrian Rambo. Hey Rambo, is that's my Tarif Tar, what's going on? Janelle 95 and Rayhan Solo, sound like them. Just okay, just say no. Alaikum assalam. 93 Hint Gems, what's going on? Ali Boo, okay. We got Sister Tana. We got the Barbara, 212. How you doing now? Kaylin Lee, how you doing? R. Sadiq, how you doing? Easy Optical, that's my man. I got some new glasses from Easy Optical. I got to put them on. I didn't put them on yet. Salahuddin Matthew, how you doing? W. Takori, Sister Sylvia Morrison, my big sister, Washington, D.C. Incredible talent. She's been on the show. Got to have her back. Mark Millions, all facts. Nia Muhammad, how you doing? Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Jihad Mulim, okay. Zany and Jihad, okay. Ijaz K, okay. Proud Palestinian, what's going on? Assalamu alaikum. Shout out to you. Kenya Manjaro, my main man out of Houston. Nazia Khalik, how you doing? And my main man Jabril, how you doing, Jabril? Coming up all the way out of course, Charlotte, North Carolina. That's right. He says violence in America's cherry pie. What's going on, Eric Carter? Wa alaikum assalam for Tulaba Carter, beloved. Yeah, violence is America's cherry pie, but you know what? I don't like cherry pie. A Negro need a pound cake. Sock it to me cake. But let me get to this point. The violence, as I said, the United States of violence is cyclical. Women, people of color, people of reason, and people of logic. Over and over and over, we see it rinsing over and over again. So now the absurd looks normal. You can look at the Quran and read these things. You look at the Bible and read these things. It's not the end of days. It's the end of logic. So listen, you guys have been great. Appreciate your time. We'll see you next week. Much love to you. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Keep the Jackson family in the wise, and we see you next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.